me, what a shot!
Sagosen setter det hen! Han setter den! Vi er i semifinale igjen!
Best Euro I've ever been at. It's so nuts, is the message that I received from Brian Campion earlier today after the Germany-France game. It's been a wild ride. 16 of the 36 games have finished within 3 goals. We've seen 5 draws in the opening stage and a bunch of shocks throughout the competition. Alex Kulischer also thinking that this is potentially the greatest Euro of all time. I'm joined by Chris. Do you think that this is the best Euro of all time?
Alex, I'm in Munich right now. It's a Tuesday night. There's a party in the hotel with Icelandic fans on one side of me. Half the referees are about to get the devastating news that they're being sent home on the other side of me. I've just seen the closest group we've ever had. Great times. And I can't wait to... It is only 7 days old. And yeah, potentially the greatest Euro on the way.
And Brian Campion is here as well, the author of the statement. So, Brian, why is it so nuts?
I think it's just... I think when Hungary are playing so well, you know it's going to be a fucking nuts Euro. Like, you know? I think back to the preview podcast. When I saw the result with Hungary today, I just kept thinking back to our guest Teddy and what he was saying. He was just so confident, we're going to win the group, like, you know, we have to think big. And then it's just like, because every one thing you know about handball is that no one really knows anything at this level, and it's the absolute chaos in some games. And actually, my favourite moment of all was Georgia. That was just the wildest. That was just the wildest thing. The clips from that game are just like, that's like some weird amateur rock and roll kind of handball stuff going. A keeper coming out of the goal, intercepting the ball. It's just absolutely just madness altogether. So even like the games that you think are going to be like rubbish, or there's just so much entertainment from top to bottom, really. And then Austria beating Spain. Jordy's probably going to go now, I'd imagine.
Is this another case of a team beating another team with a draw?
Yeah. Well, no, we beating them out of the competition.
Yeah, we had it with. We officially called Faroe Islands' draw with Norway a victory, and I think Austria can also claim that.
Yeah, it feels it.
I think every draw in this competition has been a victory or a loss for one team. So Faroe Islands beat Norway in their draw. Then Austria devastatingly destroyed Spain with a 33-33 draw. Switzerland won 26-26 against France. And Serbia lost badly 27-27 to Iceland. And the last draw, which I'm trying to find, is...
Also Austria, Alex.
Also Austria.
The biggest win of all.
A huge win against Croatia, 28-28. But it's something that a lot of people say about the European Championship, that there's no easy games. But I think with the expansion of the tournament to 24 teams, it's taken it a little while, just a couple of competitions for the lower teams to really catch up. And we're seeing that now. It's so unpredictable. The level of handball is incredible. And I'm just really, really annoyed that we all have to watch 3 really big games starting at the same time to close out the groups. Yeah. What is up with that?
That is ridiculous. That is ridiculous. But I think that came into my mind. This is a theory I have. Do you think the Georgian team came into this tournament to go and look like, we're not going to win it, we're not going to get to the main round even, let's just go fucking berserk, and maybe we'll get a contract out of this from some club, and they're looking for the highlights, and they're just going absolutely berserk.
I think that was Georgia's approach. I think that was Greece's approach. Never have I seen a team with more cojones face Denmark and just go, we are 3 or 4 levels below these guys, but we're going to play their style, and we'll see what happens. And they're like really brave performances. Super impressed with it. And I think there's a few contracts up for grabs for sure for some of these guys. Even Big Vuko, who we had in the last podcast, he's like playing his heart out, you know? I've really enjoyed it. Even Bosnia, who, as Nedjad predicted, would be a disgrace. They were a disgrace, but they had won. They were on the losing side of a great game. And who would have thought of all the debutants that it would be Georgia to get the win out of the three. But all three debutants, I think, are winners in one way or another from this opening week. I think we should mention some of the interviews we have coming up later, because this is going to be a members-only podcast for the second half of it. So the first half is open to everyone as we look back and look forward to the second half of the championship. We have Aron Pálmarsson, Adrián Sipos, Mathias Gidsel, and Martim Costa all on the way at some point during this podcast as they reflected on their journeys so far, 4 very different perspectives. And you're going to hear some of them as a free listener, but some you won't. You have to subscribe on patreon.com/handball hour. I want to just say thank you to some of the latest people to sign up, such as Anna Vilmer, Victor Molero, Haider Haiderson, Tristan Tish. What a wonderful name. I mean, the names are just getting better day after day. And hopefully some more of you will also support us from now until the end of the championship, because it's already felt like a long one, but we're on the eve of a 8-day main round with 4 games. It's just gonna get like bigger and bigger. Brian Campion puts his head in his hands.
There's 2 more weeks of this, boys. There's 2 more weeks.
No, it's fucking nuts. I don't want to jinx it. I'm really worried about jinxing it. We're talking about great. It turns into an absolute stinker after this. Germany get knocked out now and all the win. No, it's not going to happen. I can't see it happening. But let me ask you this. Why do you think this... do you think the opening match and people seeing those scenes and the teams seeing all that world record in the football arena and 53,000 people, do you think that kind of set the tone for the set the tone for the whole tournament? And that's why everyone seems to be so up for it. Or what do you think it is? Or it's the fact that it's just in Germany and it's the first time here?
Crowds have been great. I mean, that must be a part of it as well. I mean, we've been in so many championships over the years where the early games, or even both games in some venues, have like a piddly 1,000 or 2,000 people. But having 11,000, 12,000 people here in Munich every day, and not just like the travelling fans, but also the locals really buying into it. Dominic Klein probably single-handedly like selling every individual ticket around Bavaria, and I saw it was the same in Mannheim, where that's even more ridiculous. You know, we all know how terrible Rhein Leuven fans are for international matches, so it's nice that they showed up. I think that must have had a role to play. And then, as Alex said, the standard has raised. You know, we've had the odd breakthrough team in every championship since it became 24 teams. 2020 was Portugal. 2022 was Netherlands, and now we just see the bottom level has really risen, and that decision to make it 24 teams has really paid off. And I don't know what else besides that is kind of an influencing factor. Some of the big teams have been found out a little, and we'll get to Iceland because they've been found out for sure. But there's so much has happened that it's hard to generalize, I think.
Shall we get into the games?
Yes, let's.
And try to get into details. I think the one we have to start with is the shock that Spain have dropped out of the championship meekly after quite a poor performance in the preliminary round overall. And the one year I go for Spain to get a medal. They fucking do this to me. Absolute bullshit. I call...
It's mad because this is the first time in 20 years and the first time since the main round system was even created that they've not made it to the main round. So it's absolutely bonkers stuff. Like.
Yeah, and who thought that it would be Austria that knocked them out of the preliminary round? And you have to give it to Austria. They were absolutely amazing and kind of came out of nowhere to get 2 victories through draws and go into the main round.
Unbeaten. They're unbeaten.
And 1 more point in Germany than the main round. I mean, if you said that to beforehand, that Austria are going to have 1 more point at starting the main round than Germany, you'd be like...
And Iceland.
But it was a disaster for Spain, really. The match I think we all knew it was going to be a tight match. Spain, we talked about how Spain trusted their old guys. You know, I can't believe you were watching a game where Caneas is running the attack and Viran Maros is the centre of defence. It's ridiculous. That shouldn't happen. And it should be on Jordi Ribera that he hasn't been able to foster some players into the squad to help them out. I know the Spanish kind of talent pipeline has had a little bit of a drought. Now they're coming in with an amazing generation. Maybe that will fill the gaps, but this was the year that they really fell between the gaps. And Austria were fantastic. Nikola Bilic, who I think people forgot about, and he had a devastating knee injury, and he kind of stepped back in Kiel's overall pecking order, but he's back to being a top player. He got 8 goals from 11 shots and 4 assists, and I think it was more than 4 assists that he actually contributed to. He really ran the show. It was a shock. Alex Dushabayev getting a red card in the first half.
Take us through that situation, because Brian and I were taking care of different games at the time. So how did that happen?
Alex Dushabayev in defence, hand to the face is really the red card.
Was it to the face though?
It was.
Was it not to the arm?
I think that the reason why it was a red card is because it hit the face. But
We watched it back in the stands.
Brian has been listening to Spanish propaganda, I think.
Yeah, a little. I was sitting beside a Spanish guy, but we did watch it back a few times, and it did look like he kind of comes in from the side, and he kind of catches him like on his upper arm and kind of pushes it over his head, and he obviously who's your man Hudacek, isn't it? That falls over, and it just looked awkward to me, but it looked like a 2 minutes.
It was probably a little bit harsh. I thought the reason was that, yeah, he took the arm, but then I thought he essentially followed through to the face, which led to the red card. I would say a harsh decision. Yeah. I think a lot of Spanish fans would say it's a very harsh decision. But without Alex Dushabayev, that team is lost. It's like, what is that backcourt? Ian Tarafeta had an unbelievable game. He stepped in, and I think it was a mistake by Jordi Ribera to not integrate Tarafeta into the team. We know that modern handball is about a fast playmaker. That's what makes it work. And with Tarafeta in, it essentially, the attack flowed much better. And can I just give a big props just for the comeback of the 7 versus 6? I haven't heard many people at this championship lamenting the sport because of 7 and 6.
If you saw Portugal yesterday against Denmark, then but that's just one example. But yes, I get your point.
I think we talked about this years ago when 7-6 was starting to become a trend, and we talked about how, or I said that essentially people are going to figure it out and how to use it. It's not going to be a total scheme, and we're going to see 7-6 all the time, and it's going to be lots of empty net goals. Teams are going to utilize it, and the teams that do utilize it are going to be good at it. And there is a risk to it, but that risk is worth the potential benefit you have, especially for an underdog team. We saw Faroe Islands use it absolutely exquisitely. I don't think they conceded barely any empty net goals. I really didn't see many and they employed it almost throughout. Again, the lower nation team.
It was two against Norway.
Yeah, but again, very overall huge net benefit. For Austria, it worked really well against Spain. Big Toby Wagner on the line, and Spain just couldn't deal with him. He's perfect for that position. And if you look at them as well, they were very different styles of 7-6 between what Austria did and what Faroe Islands did. Austria really used it in a classic sense where they spread out the defence and tried to get it to the line or the back player score. What Faroe Islands did was they had skipper, so they could do whatever they want. But, they got it out to the wing all the time. So we're seeing now variations in how 7-6 is employed. And then, the risk doesn't come off for some teams, and that's Portugal, who had an absolute disaster. Mathias Gidsel scored 5 goals in 4 minutes to absolutely devastate them.
Let me ask you this about the two teams coming from this group, Austria and Croatia, both coming with a point. At the very beginning of this championship, we were all hyped about Croatia's result, but then came the injury to Ivan Martinovic. Is that too much of a blow for them to overcome, you think, in this main round?
I think it's difficult. Even though the replacement right back, Luka Clarița, had a really good game against Romania. So you can't really judge that to the full extent. He got 7 goals. I think Martinovic was going to be the player of this new generation of Croatia that was going to make the difference. He was going to be the new leader. And of all the amazing backcourt players they have, they don't have another left-handed one. Having to rely on a player like a 22-year-old Zagreb right back, Luka Clarița. So it was probably the only position that they couldn't replace easily. You know, if they lost the left back, they have a whole string of experienced superstars on the bench that could fill in. Right back's a little bit more difficult. I don't think it's over. And, you know, the beauty of the main round is you just don't know which group is actually stronger than the other. So, you know, we could see Croatia lining up against Germany and then just knocking them out of the park, because actually Croatia and Austria are amazing teams, and they knocked out Spain because they were amazing. So we'll see that. But I think difficult for Croatia. For Germany, it's a nice route to the semi-final. They go into the main round with 0 points, but you know what? Like, who's there to stop them?
Yeah, well, first game against Iceland. Iceland too, and that I think Germany will be very confident in that. But like Aron Pálmarsson in Lanxess Arena, where he's won all those MVP titles. I mean, I before we get into that, like on Germany, like before we plot their route to the semi-final, what did you guys make of them? I mean, I've only got to see one full game live, and that was the opening game. Since then, they cantered to victory against the Macedonians and then lost today against France. What did you feel something a bit different about that game against France today, Brian? Like the first real test of the championship for them.
Everybody was so disappointed with how France looked in their opening games, and I think everyone felt like the France looked really laboured and slow, and it just N'Gossan at the backcourt looked terrible. When Karabatic came on, he looked really bad. But today, in typical French style, they seemed to be able to turn it up, and it was almost like that classic French attitude. When everyone starts booing you, you're like, well, you know what, fuck these guys, like, you know. And that's what it kind of felt like today. And they really started playing well, and I thought like they kind of handled the crowd were being very hard at certain points, and they kind of were able to roll with it. I don't know how Nikola Karabatic got player of the match, but look, it's lovely for him. He got a few goals, and he seems happy out with himself. But I think France were much better, especially you could see it in the last maybe 15 minutes of the second half. They really started to kind of turn the screw a lot, like, and I think if it wasn't for Andy Wolf's saves, I think he's 16 in the end. I think he was just they were breaking through, like just the French attack were just flying through the defense, and he was just pulling off these the most incredible saves. So I think maybe the scoreline even flattered Germany slightly. I don't know. I wouldn't be so confident about Germany getting to a semi-final. I don't know. What
France did really well is they figured out that Kai Hefner is playing right back. They looked at that backcourt.
They opened their eyes.
They saw Julian Costa shooting over them. They saw Yuri Knorr running the game. And then they looked at, 35-year-old Kai Hefner and thought, you know what? Maybe we'll let this guy beat us. And that's what they did in the second half. Because essentially, they completely shifted their defense over and let Kai Hefner just loose. Here's space for you. Do what you can. And unfortunately, he can't do that much. Like, he's a good player to fit in a system, but when it's him that's deciding a game, that it's not good enough. And it was very clever from France to basically open up that side, and it hindered Germany. And the thing is with France is their centre block has looked so bad in this championship. Against Switzerland, it was one of the worst defensive performances I've ever seen. Switzerland scored 12 goals from the line players all through the middle, because whoever it was, at some stages it was like Remy Lee and Luka Karabatic in that centre block. Then Karl Konan came in. It was a mess. Fabregas didn't play in defence at all against Switzerland. He played it a little bit, but still Luka Karabatic is trusted with that defence, and he's had a horrible tournament. And that's where Germany had a lot of success in the first half and stayed with it. And then the solution that Gidsel came up with, it's like, I can't trust my centre defenders. They're going to concede these goals with just push them to the side. And it worked. But I'm a little bit worried about France as well. They need to sort out that defence.
After that, are you feeling more confident about Germany or France? I mean, you said the path is there because they've already faced France. Germany, now the rest is easy in comparison, you think? I
think Germany are still good enough. I think they got caught a little bit with France's defence and opening up that Kai Hefner space. But Germany just have the best goalkeeper in the world. And that's going to be good enough for this main round. Like, Andy Wolf this isn't just one game. He just keeps doing it.
Emil Nielsen
with his 50% save rate may argue, but we're splitting hairs here. We're splitting hairs, especially with a home crowd and Andy Wolf in the type of explosive form that he is good enough. And I think they have played really good, cultured handball, and in this case, France were just a little bit better, just a little bit faster. But I think that game goes differently if they play again. I don't think it was really that demolition. And I know, Brian, you mentioned that the score kind of flattered Germany. But I think Andy Wolf is going to give you your 13 saves a game each time. They're just relying on that. And that's good enough.
Yeah, but I mean, because also, like, if Andy doesn't have a great game as well, I think Spät has shown that he can come up with some massive saves as well. He seems to be fairly reliable for them also. So they do have a good duo there. It's not just Andy. I think Spät has something in him. I love how Spät does the exact same celebration every time he scores. He does that kind of hard man, arms down, hopping around the place. Literally like carbon copy every single time he scores. The fucking same celebration each time. But yeah, a bit of a nut job, I think. But anyway,
that's
yeah, for sure.
Okay, we still have two more teams to talk about in Group 1. The teams that came from Munich, Hungary and Iceland. And before we talk about their game today and their chances, let's hear what some of the players had to say about Hungary's surprisingly one-sided win over Iceland. We spoke to our favourite man on the Hungarian team, Adrián Sipos, and then after that we hear from Aron Pálmarsson. I see the Hungarian flag on your cheeks. Did that come after the game?
This is from my kid and my wife. They was here for helping me and support me in all of these 3 games. And how they kissed me and hugged me, I have this flag from them.
I remember you telling me about your kids, also talking about your red cards in the past. No red cards this time. A very positive, I think a very strong defensive performance at this championship so far.
I need to defend strong, and that's why it's really hard to keep it sometimes without red card. I try always to take care of my game and sometimes to don't get 2 minutes or red cards. It's really difficult. And today was the first time when I get 2 times 2 minutes. I didn't feel
the second was an accident.
Second one
it was
I think was nothing, but in the last game I also get something like this. the referees decide this. This is another thing. They saw like this in the moment. I don't complain anymore. I need to think about the next game and the next defense.
Yeah, let's focus on the positive sides. The first time that Hungary have won 3 games in a row in the preliminary round of European Championship. The toughest group as well, by far. What an amazing achievement so far.
Yeah, how do you say? I think this is the hardest group, and where we will go again will be the hardest group with these teams. I think here in Europe it's really hard to find not that good teams. I'm really happy because we won these 3 games, and how you say, this is the first time in our history, and we need to build in this, and we need to keep like this and go forward.
The development of the team since 2 years ago, that home championship, which we don't need to talk about the disappointment of that, but the development since then has been fantastic. We saw the quarterfinal at the World Championship last year, and it feels like the team comes in without too much expectation, without too much pressure on the shoulders, and you just deliver.
Yeah, in our Europe was also, I think, the hardest group what we have, and that time was few things I don't want to speak about what happened, and maybe this was also a problem, and that's why we don't play that well like now. But I cannot say we was so well because we was in the game in all the 3 games. Now we went 1 or 2 steps forward, and we could keep this winning way, and I hope we will stay like this and to try to think more in the future, not in the past.
And talk to me about the third quarter of the game, because in all 3 games here, it seems right after half-time you find a whole new level and you really take control of the game. Is that something in particular that you've focused on as a team?
Yeah, it's. I think it's really important to be concentrated 60 minutes, and it was before 1-2 games, like when we let a little them to come back in the game, and today I think everyone wants 2-3 times more this game, and this was in the end, and we was really focused all that 60 minutes.
The will was very clear, even from young Bence Imre coming in for his first game in the championship. His defensive plays was fantastic,
It was unbelievable, and I really happy for them. They are here with us, and they try to help us with every moment, and they try to follow us, and this is a really good team, and a really good thing. They can come, everyone who come in the court help us, and this is really important for the players who want to arrive to the national team and want to help us. They need to come like them.
What I think is really remarkable, the red card for Bence in the first half. I was your top scorer so far in the championship, a key defender inside with you, but Patrick comes in and both of you, the whole defence, it feels like you don't miss him.
We always, when it's happened something like this, we need to help each other, and it was the moment when we stay much more together and help each other much more, and try to do this misplays what he left behind him. And Rostomiki also in attack did his job very well, and I mean, me with Ligi tried to do everything to take this place and don't have problem for us.
Of course, you haven't had a chance to think about the main round. It's but you're top of the group. 2 points, 8 goal difference ahead. You come out of this group, I guess, with no regrets, right?
Yeah, it's like this, but I think we don't need to think about what we have, where we are in the table, or these things. We need to think about just the next game, and what will be the next game. We will think just about this, and we will see what will bring these things for us. If we go 1 by 1, can be really good, but if we think for a final or something like this, can be a problem.
Thank you, Adrián, and good luck.
Thank you so much.
So hard right after a game like this to take apart a result like this, but what are your first impressions of it?
Almost speechless, because I don't know what's wrong. Usually you know what's wrong. Of course you can say we lose a lot of balls. Also, almost every game we play, it looks like we are playing against the best goalkeeper in the world. We are shooting bad. We are giving away easy balls, and that's something that I don't understand because we have really good technical players who are playing at the highest level and have been doing that for quite some time now. And we have, great game plan. We have good. Everything is good. I think the morale is good. So I don't have the answer. So it's we have to dig deep tonight. Hopefully we'll find some answers and then just move on.
And in the first half, they were hanging in very well. I mean, they seemed to be playing a little bit better. Things were going their way, but still at the end there was only 2 goals in between it. And you've shown already this week that you can come back from almost any situation. But this time in the second half, did it feel like the team was also a little bit drained in attack?
We can't hide behind that. Somebody's tired or whatever. We are playing on a lot of players this tournament. So no, that's not our excuse. It's maybe it's just we are not executing it as good as we want. Maybe we're overthinking it. I don't know. Maybe we want to do it always perfect. Maybe to step down a little bit, 10-15%, and take the good chance. Not always look after the excellent chance.
Right.
So I think that's something we have to focus on. Shoot more. The teams are starting to just wait for us almost on 6 meters. So yeah, I think that's something we have to look at.
On the positive side, this format of the competition leaves 4 more games to play. We're 2 points behind. From what you're saying, it seems like the right answers are not so far away. And do you think you as a group can also just kind of push this behind and move on?
Yeah, we wanted to do that after the Serbian game. We wanted to play better also against Montenegro. Now this comes, so it's either go way down and play like something I don't want to say, but or just like you said, put it under the carpet and let's fucking go. That's it. Just rock and roll and move on. 4 more games, like you said. That's 8 points that we want and that we need to get to our goals. So yeah, that's the only thing that we're going to think about tomorrow morning.
Thanks for sharing. Good luck with club.
Thank you.
Adrián Sipos, he's a new man. No more red cards. No more disappointing his daughter. He's a new man, and this Hungary team, like Alex, I think we have to give you some credit here.
Don't say it. Don't say they're really good.
No, but Alex did say, right, you predicted them to go through, and you probably didn't predict them to win the group with at a canter. Well, not at a canter, but this was the toughest group in the whole thing. And the first time, believe it or not, that Hungary have won all 3 matches in a preliminary round of a men's Euro. And to do it in this group says an awful lot. They came into it without any expectation, without any pressure, as you said, Alex, and they've delivered so far.
So Hungary with a 33-25 win, really, really impressive. Was it a case of Iceland continuing to be pretty terrible, or were Hungary actually quite impressive here?
I think it was a case of both at the same time, which is why it was such a one-sided game. Double-digit score at one point, and Aron Pálmarsson said it best himself when he said he was speechless and then continued to talk for 3 minutes about it. I think it's Hungary. I mean, Hungary, they know what they're doing at both ends of the court. Their defence is really, really well set up. Like that, basically the 3 guys who take turns in the centre block, Ligetvari, Sipos and Banhidi. Banhidi got the red card in the first half, which I thought would really throw them off, because he's back to best line player in the world, Banhidi. 15 goals in the opening 2 games. Completely unstoppable.
What was the red card like? Was it a classic Banhidi clumsy tackle to decapitate a person?
Decapitation, yeah. But yeah, I don't know if it was necessarily clumsy. Like Gidsel Christiansen just was really low, so it was. I felt like there might have been a mitigating factor, because Christiansen was like, sideways as he usually is. But they responded really well to that. And I think it's a good sign when I don't really understand how it's working. Chema Rodriguez brings in players that I'm